Hi everyone and welcome to today's event. Apologies for the slight delay. We had some technical difficulties. I'm going to just make a start now because I know we're slightly delayed. But thank you all for joining today's session. Today I am joined by Hassan and we have had some technical difficulties. Hassan's not been able to get his slides to show. So we're going to kind of pivot the session slightly and we're going to do it kind of a bit more of an interactive session. But just to quickly, before we start, I'm going to introduce myself. So my name is Rianne and I'm the program manager of the London Reactor. So today we're going to be doing a session with Hassan on applying DevOps. And so, yeah, I'll hand over to him now to kind of host the session.
Okay, thanks so much, Rihanna. Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining. Once again, apologize for some technical difficulties we have by sharing the slide deck as prepared. But even with that, I will absolutely walk you through this concept of DevOps and DevSecOps. Before that, myself, I'm working freelance in the field as a freelance DevOps engineer for 20 years now, and one of the MVPs in the field as well in the DevOps space for Azure DevOps and GitHub, and also as a GitHub star for almost 17 years now. We are in the validation process, fingers crossed. Today, I would like to share two things with you guys to show you the concept of DevOps from Microsoft point of view, using Azure DevOps and using also GitHub, knowing that GitHub is becoming also a DevOps platform since 2018. So that's one. Then the second part will be about the security. How can you apply DevSecOps using such tools I just mentioned? So with that, as you can see here, once again, apologize. I don't have a slide deck, but I will work through this project as I already have in my browser. As you can see, for the people who are not familiar yet with Azure DevOps, this is the product Azure DevOps. As you can see here, this is a product which have different parties or different functionalities to support the concept of from idea to production, which means from Azure DevOps, we can manage our project from beginning to end by using the part of project management, which is the Azure boards, for instance, here, as you can see. Then on the Azure boards, this is where we can put our backlog and we can sort out our work items and define priorities and define sprints and everything. That's something that we can do on there. What we have just seen on the dashboard, this is an overview of the project itself for team, knowing that if you are working as team, you would like to have doing as team, especially during your stand-ups or maybe for your project, your Scrum Master or your PO or something like that. Therefore, we have this space here, as we can see, as a dashboard, where we have different widgets which can be configured and can be added with useful information from your project, of course, right? Then we have another part, which is Azure Repos. And Azure Repos, as we can see, is the code part, I can say. This is just one sample of the project. For instance, for Part Limited project, which is a project based on ASP.NET Core for an e-commerce application. This is part of the code where we can apply or the source code operations, for instance, check in, check out, or pull, push, data latest, commits, pull requests. All the operations can be applied on the source code you might have on here. Of course, your source code, you can also have your scripts and everything you are working on, which you would like to version or to version control. You can put it in this space. Then another space is the interesting one, which is the CI/CD pipeline or the CI/CD part, for instance. As you can see, when we talk about DevOps in general and the definition, there is a lot of people saying, hey, DevOps for me is just CI/CD, which is partially correct, right? And some otherwise, I say DevOps is the combination or collaboration of the dev and operations, which is also correct. But from Microsoft point of view, talking about DevOps, and by the definition of Donovan Brown, DevOps is the union of people, process, and product to enable continuous delivery of value for the end users. This is the definition of the DevOps from Delvin Brown, which was, I can say because he wasn't in there anymore, which was Microsoft guy or Microsoft DevOps guy. But if we look at the order, DevOps is the union of people first, then products, and then process. Sorry, and then product. Talking about processes here means talking about Agile, for instance, Scrum, Kanban, CMMI, and of course your own customized process, you can say. So this is those processes are all supported in the concept of DevOps from Microsoft point of view. And of course, with that, we can manage our projects from the beginning until the end by using the two tools I have already said, the Azure DevOps and GitHub itself. So then we have another part, which is the testing part. But on the, once again, on the pipeline part, we have the pipelines for the CI, which is the build, which as you are seeing right now. And we also have the release part, which is the deployment part, which contains stages and environments, for instance, which must be configured and then containing the tasks which must be executed as jobs on the agents, for instance. This is the functionality of Azure DevOps nowadays. Then we have the testing part, which is the part which can be used by the testers within our projects. And here the tester can create his or her test plans and creating test suites and creating or generating or importing, of course, if they have already somewhere else on Excel or somewhere else, can import the test cases, for instance. And such test cases can, of course, contain some logic which must be tested. And that can be tested manually. But nowadays, we also have a mechanism to test that automatically by using the combination of the Playwright tool from Microsoft as well, or Playwright service. And of course, we have the artifacts here. Those artifacts are nothing else than the libraries which are all using. If I say connect to feed, we can see the list of the available artifacts, for instance, on Azure DevOps. And those artifacts, you can just have a subscription on a feed on that one, and you can consume it from your own project, just to give you the compatibility of your project within the platform itself. That said about Azure DevOps, right? So what you have to keep in mind is the different functionalities which we can derive from. And of course, there is a lot more because we have the wiki here as well, which can act as communication thing for the team, for instance. And of course, we can, by the dashboard we can see here, we can as well share such information with other projects within the same organization, for instance. This is about the Azure DevOps mindset from here. Now I will go to the GitHub workspace, for instance. And on GitHub level, as you can see, this is a GitHub repo containing one of the projects. This is the repository of GitHub. And exactly we have the same concept, because we are saying that GitHub is also a DevOps project or a DevOps platform right now. Okay, so with that, we can see that this is the code part, which is always which was always there, knowing that GitHub was just an open source repository. But after 2018, after 18 November 2018, it is becoming a Microsoft product, which is really becoming a DevOps solution as well. With that, we can see we still have the code part. We have pull requests is associated with code. Discussions we have as well, where we can define our issues and such. We have the actions, which can deal like we have seen in Azure DevOps. This is the part which is comparable to Azure Pipelines, for instance. And we have the project part, which is the part which is compared to Azure Boards on Azure DevOps. And we have the insights, where we can see the insights on what you are doing on the project, who is doing what traffics are we doing, what configuration we still have on that part of GitHub itself based on some specific repository. But the interesting thing is, with this product, which is GitHub, we have the part which is security. If we are looking at security right now, we see that this part is the most one where Microsoft has invested a lot. Invested a lot in that one because there is a lot of work already set it up to integrate some additional tools in order to guarantee the security of your product or project or your source code, for instance. Therefore, Microsoft has integrated, as you can see here on this part of security, we see dependent bot, we see code scanning, and we see the secret scanning, for instance. Those tools are integrated now as part of GitHub security part, which is here. We also have what we call Microsoft GitHub Advanced Security, and GitHub Advanced Security is a service on GitHub level which can be used from GitHub itself, but it also can be consumed from Azure DevOps, and then you can get the results of it from the Azure portal based on the integration with Defender for Cloud, for instance. Okay, so with that one, I can just go to the settings, for instance, here, and I will see this is, I'm talking about advanced security. This is what I'm talking about here. Advanced security, as you can see, this part contains a lot of tools which are integrated within this product, which can be consumed from Azure DevOps, for instance, to guarantee the security of the code and also the secrets and the deployment, for instance. This part is very interesting because we have this part from GitHub here, but we can consume that from other tool, which is totally outside of GitHub. Now, let me go back to the Azure DevOps link, for instance. I think I still have the link here. Yes, I have. If we are back to Azure DevOps aspect, which we have seen, and if we willing to integrate this security part, just go into the repo space. As you can see here, this is the repo as we have seen. We have just go to the advanced security tab, as you can see there, and then based on the repos you have on your project, because you might have one or more repos. For instance, if I say just for this repo, because for this one it is already set it up, you can see I already have some information coming from the scanning of dependencies or code scanning or maybe the secrets. But how to do that first from here at first glance or at first time? If you are on Azure DevOps and your repository is on Azure DevOps and you would like to go and activate or enable GitHub Advanced Security for your projects, this is where you have to start. Go into this tab, Advanced Security, enable in settings. This will take you to the settings of your repositories on your project level. As you can see, this is the repository level. Those are the available repositories. This is the repository which is selected. And from there, you can just say Advanced Security. Once you enable that one, you will get some notification that once you have done billing from your Azure portal or from your Azure subscription will be enabled. Once you enable that one, you are from there good to go and activate such functionality in your Azure DevOps project, for instance. So that I already have. I already did that for the other repo. I will cancel that now. I show this just to let you know how we can start. Hopefully it makes sense. But now go back to the one I already activated. I have this repository, which is part unlimited. I have already activated Advanced Security. And from there, if I go to the repository again, and then I will go to Advanced Security, we will see that, no, not from, no, sorry, wrong repo. This one I would like to. Yes. So and go into there, we will see the 3 tabs here, for instance, dependencies, code scanning, and secrets. Okay. But once we have this, what can we do further with that? Knowing that we can, of course, right now activate or enable this service, which is part of GitHub offer within Azure DevOps, but we can also have some more meaningful information about the service and how that interacts on Azure on Azure cloud level. Doing that, I will go to the portal.azure.com, for instance. He will take me into the Azure portal, of course, subscription as always. And then once I logged in my Azure portal, I will take you to the Azure Defender for Cloud part. Please go on. Yes, it's telling me. Please do it. Go ahead. Yes, we are good to go. So we are now outside of GitHub, and we are outside of Azure DevOps. We are now on the Azure portal itself, portal.azure.com, right? So, which is my subscription in this case from Azure Cloud. Okay, so that look into you can just look for it in services or whatever, but I already use it. Therefore, it is already available or visible from here. We can see Microsoft Defender for Cloud. And for people who are already working with cloud and for people who are already know a lot of security, this must absolutely be known to them. For those who are not, this is your opportunity to make to know about this, and maybe you can use it for your projects. So what we see here, we have different parts. We have the general part, we have the cloud security part, and we have the management part. What we still have here is because I already activated some connectors here, therefore you see assess resources, because I already run some validations, and we also see the workload protections which are detected based on my resources, and we see some inventories of my total resources, of course. And inventories can absolutely differ from unhealthy to healthy and not applicable, for instance. But that said, this is the main form or the main page of the Defender for Cloud. What I would like to show you guys today is where can we interact or where can we integrate Azure DevOps and GitHub Advanced Security within this part or within this product, which is Azure Cloud on the Microsoft Defender for Cloud. That said, we will just go to the next part, which is cloud security. And cloud security, as you can see here, we see one item, which is DevOps security only. Once I click on that one, we will see totally other information. The information that gives us a lot of information about how we are doing on our project, on our Azure DevOps, or maybe GitHub, or maybe other GitHub project, for instance. Using this means you have to integrate Azure DevOps repos or GitHub repos, as you can see, with this Azure Active, with GitHub Advanced Security, in order to get this information on Azure Cloud in this part. So doing that, you firstly have to make configure an environment. If I click on here, you can see that you have the possibility to configure 3 type of environments, for instance, based on where your project, where repositories are set up. Maybe you have your repositories on GitHub, maybe you have them on Azure DevOps, maybe you are using another tool, which is GitLab, or other solution, which is also a DevOps solution. And from there, you can just make a connection with the connector. And from there, you can make, or you can use this service in order to scan your project for us. So that said, we can say, for instance, hey, do you know what? I would like to create an Azure DevOps connector, for instance. I will not create, this is just to show you how this works, because I already set it up. And from there, you can just give a name, how you would like to be known. You just a subscription, and resource group, and of course, the location or the region where your subscription is part of. This is how you can do that. It's exactly the same as you can do as well for GitHub. And from there, you can just, once you have corrected configured the connector, you have the possibility to give, hey, I would like that to be enabled for all the repositories in my organization, or also the available, but also the featured organizations, for instance. So that's the way you can set it up. It's easy to do, but I already did that stuff. And what we can see here right now is we see I have said, please scan all the repositories on my organizations in Azure DevOps. You see, I have a lot of organizations on there. You see, these are, for instance, some organizations. This is one, and this is the other. And I have as well, as you can see, 2 organizations on GitHub and 2 organizations on Azure DevOps. And going to Azure DevOps, for instance, we see this project, which is Partner Limited, okay, which we have seen on the repo level. Now, that one scanned, those are the results of the scan, for instance, which has been done. I see that I have some inventories here, some medium, and also some low. Once I go deeper on the alerts I got, then I can see some useful information which can say, hey, wait a minute, maybe you have to take some action in order to get that fixed. Because for here, it's okay because I don't see any high ones, but I have seen we have 22 medium ones, and you have 0 low ones. For instance, then to correct them, you can get the actions based on the take action here with remediate. See if there are some findings which are medium. We can deep dive into the the cause of the problem. For instance, if I go to specific details of that project, I can see where the problem is. Okay, which branch, master branch, which project, and which line of code, the total name, the rule ID, all the details are available. And if I click on the link, for instance, it will take me to the source code itself, to that piece of code which contains that vulnerability, for instance. This is so integrated, so deeply integrated, that you can have more useful information from that one. Okay, that's this. Then now, how can we use this, for instance? Now, I will go back to my Azure DevOps project, for instance, again. Let me go to Azure DevOps, and we can integrate, as I said, that GitHub Advanced Security Service, which is part of the GitHub offer. I can integrate that on the CI/CD pipelines part of Azure DevOps. CI/CD pipeline part, which is here. For instance, you can see. And of course, talking about CI/CD pipelines, we have two types of pipelines. We have the classic ones, but we have also the YAML ones. Microsoft is pushing nowadays to make use of YAML because of the versioning of all the artifacts which are on there, which is absolutely a good fit. And they are already disabling that one for the new to create organizations. If you would like to still use the classic ones, you have to activate it from your organization settings. Otherwise, you will have to deal with the YAML pipeline, for instance. Okay, so how that YAML pipeline looks like, for instance, here I will give you just an idea about how that looks like. Just go here and say this is how a YAML pipeline looks like. For instance, you see this is YAML stuff. This is where you can define the configuration of your CI and CD, for instance, and from there you can define your steps, your tasks, and all the actions which must take place, of course, based on some a job which can be executed, but on some infrastructure of choice. Those are all the configurations on your YAML file. Okay, and of course, you can still use the classic. You can still use the such extensions here, as you can see, because it contains, once you select part, for instance, suppose I'm here and I would like to add something, then I will go to advanced security here, and and it adds that advanced security part to my YAML file. But you have to do it in the right way and the right order, for instance. Okay, so this is about the YAML one. But going back to the one I integrated here as a classic one, for instance, if I do a date pipeline, you will see that this pipeline for that specific project, which is an ASP.NET Core project based on C#, it is a C# project. Therefore, we have the build mechanism here, and you can see the nugget. Of course, this is coming from the artifact part, which is also part of Azure DevOps, and from there you can just execute this project or the pipeline, and he will absolutely do the check. So what you have to see here right now is on this project, I have integrated the usage of the GitHub Advanced Security by using of the CodeQL or the dependent bot, for instance, and code scanning and secret scannings. And this is where I do this, for instance, dependency scanning. This is where I put that task force, for instance, here, and the inside CodeQL initialize and CodeQL analyzes. And this is giving me at the end some information on how my project is doing when it comes to the scanning or security stuff. Okay, and that is all based on the GitHub Advanced Security, which is already configured from here, as you can see. So you see dependencies for that project, for instance. This is where I can see the dependencies which are done for that project. This is where I can see the code scannings which are done for the projects as well. Let me just pick up this one, for instance, and I can see that, hey, create an ASP.NET debug binary, my real sensitive information. Okay, this can be seen as a risk, and we can just do something with that one. Okay, detections, if there are some detections here, for instance, on Monday, and we can just go deeper and correct what's going on there. Okay, so you see, those are this is the pipeline. Those are the information, and this is coming from this run, for instance. Okay, because you see this pipeline is already executed, and it contains, of course, the steps which are here. You see the steps of the pipelines are made there. This is one which I have added, and this is also the second one for the dependency bot, which gives you a report of what's going on, what has been dependent there, and it gives you also the analysis of the code QL, for instance. Okay, so but executing this pipeline can be done in different ways, of course, because we can make a change in our source code, for instance, based on the commit and pull request which we might have on our source code level, and a pipeline can be executed for us. I did this already before, but let me just on the fly just do that so that we guys can see that this is well integrated and this is doing the stuff as I explained it. Now, okay, let me just say a simple thing, not that excited. Go into the view, go into the, for instance here, go into the index, yeah, load, say edit. I'm now doing some development from the browser because you can still do that. For instance, saying here, sun, yes, I see there's some, okay, here, I will just delete that one. Okay, say, okay, comment. This is my thing. Okay, I don't want to add anything. I can integrate some use case, for instance, here, because this is where because it supports from idea to production and vice versa with full integration and, of course, for traceability. Okay, this is why I'm now on the code part, but I get some use cases or some work items from the board, which is Azure board on the same project. Okay, so let me just say that one, and then say, okay, comment. Once I commit that one, now because I'm still working on the same branch, now I will say, hey, now create a pull request. Once creating a pull request, after having defined all the necessary information, you see this user theory will now be closed on the board while it is executed. And this is what I have done. Then I can assign some reviewers, for instance, for this project if I would like to. I can do all that stuff within the same project. Okay, I will say create the pull request. I can say, do you know what? It's not that exciting. I can say just approve and complete. By completion here, be aware that if you complete, you get some questions here. If I'm done with that branch which I'm working on, if I'm done, this is the last one, I can say, hey, delete feature or delete that branch because I don't need it anymore. If you are not done yet, just leave it as it is and you can just reuse it. Because if you are done with the branch and you leave it there, this is a bit pity because every branch is a version of your source code on the bulk storage. Okay, so leave it because I still need it, and I'll say complete merge. Once the merge is completed as part of the commit and as part of the pull request, okay, we will now go to the Azure pipelines and we will see that my pipeline is automatically executed. And once we go here and we follow up what is doing, we can see that this pipeline, which is part automated end-to-end, is still executed. It is now executed on the Azure pipelines. Azure pipelines are just agents, hosted agents from Microsoft. And you see this one, oh, okay, because yeah, it's configured on both, because it's configured on the YAML file and also on this one. Therefore, I get the mail notification that the first one was failed because I know why, but this one is still ongoing. So you see here, he is still executed on Azure pipelines, and they see that he is still making use of Windows 2019. Shouldn't be, should 2022 or 2025, but that's not the problem for now. Okay, so go ahead. The agent request is already running, as already completed. Okay, go ahead then. Yes, he is still running. And you see the Microsoft Defender is done. He's now checking out the repo, because this is one of the first actions which take place on the CI/CD pipelines, the checkout of your repository, so that the binaries are available in the agents, and from there the actions which are defined on your CI or your CD based on the tasks added or extensions added can be executed. Restore, NuGet restore is done. Compatibility is in place. Now he is initiating the code QL to execute, of course, or to check what has been done on the security. This is now getting in touch with the GitHub Advanced Security integration, so that we can see at the end what will be the result of the execution of this pipeline and what information can we gather from there. Okay, so that's what's still ongoing. Excuse me. Now this one is done, as you can see. Okay, that is done. He's having some output as well, which is good, which we will look at later on. And yeah, okay, yes, okay. Okay, we have the input, and now he is performing the build. This is nothing else than in his build, because we are talking about .NET application, which is making use of ASP.NET Core, and this is just in his build, which has been executed for the extensions, which are or the order of execution of the parts which of the application itself. Okay, so once this is done, then the dependency scanning will take place, and this will take a bit time, I guess. Excuse me. And from there we can see. Now let me just say this is still in execution mode. Before I go back, okay. Okay, it's still building stuff. This will take a bit, and you will also still do some dependencies with the build, which is good. Okay, now he is performing the dependency scanning. If we follow what has been done, you see that there's the platform, OS platform is getting there. The version is getting in place. The node version as well, because there are a lot of tools which are integrated with that one in order to see advanced security dependency screening tool. You see it's starting because it is part of the advanced security offer, which is coming from GitHub. This is where the integration is taking place. Okay, so from the GitHub offer, where we have the security tab, we have advanced security, which contains different tools, and such tools can be integrated on Azure DevOps advanced security on the repo level, and then can be executed as part of the CI/CD pipeline on Azure DevOps in order to get the full traceability and the full integration of such service. And of course, I know that this service is also integrated with other services on other platforms. But anyway, for my space, this is where I interact with it, basically. Okay, dependency scanning is still doing track. Yeah, this takes always a bit time. Done. Okay, and we can see. We will see now that. Okay. Yeah. Yes. This is the list. You see, this is the list. Component detector. Those are all the components which are detected. Those are detection time. Component found. If there are some, you see, 113, and we have explicitly referenced 57 references. Okay, with this information, you see, submitting 57 registrations to advanced security for processing. Now they are submitted to advanced security to process them, and at the end, they will be available as well on Azure Cloud, on the part of the Defender for Cloud. Okay, they will be available there as well. Let me just finalize this one so that we can see that the pipeline is getting executed successfully, and from there we go back to the Azure portal on the Defender for Cloud part so that we can see what the results are for this run, for instance. And of course, we can go now because I already run this pipeline before, and then we can just see the results. Let me just say, okay, go back to the portal.azure.com. Here we go. Okay, once back to the portal.com, we go to the Microsoft Defender for Cloud and go into the cloud security tab, which is here. There we have DevOps security, and this is where we can see such information. Okay, the information will be absolutely here, and this is where we can go and say for, hey, this is my project, this is what has been done, and those are the vulnerabilities found, and this is how I can interact with them. Go into the Azure low one, for instance, and I can say, hey, I can take action on it, as I said already. I can, for instance, workflow automation, you can automate that if I want. Some findings, those are all the findings which are part of that one. Clicking on that finding, you get the detailed information on where it is exactly there, and of course the status where the status which is shown, and everything is based on an AD. Okay, so that's it. Then what's worth it? What were the next to show? This is this one, security tab on GitHub is exactly the same, because here we have another project which is the chatbot one, which you have seen. We have on high vulnerability here. Let me just see what's going on there. Okay, this is the part. Okay, 6 high, 9 medium, and 5 low. Okay, we have to mitigate those ones and such. But doing this, we have the findings as well in this space. And if there is some graph, that for now there's no graph for that one. Unassigned status, chat copilot. We can go here and we can see, go back to the chat copilot, for instance, where the information is coming from. Okay, so I hope this gives you an idea on how this is all set up and integrated. But importantly is going back to the Azure DevOps to see if the pipeline run is done. Okay, we see it's still running. Wow, that takes a lot of time. Let me check. Otherwise, I will just grab the previous one. Here we go. What's still doing? Here we go. Performing code QL. Oh, okay. Here's still performing the code QL. All right. So anyway, I will take the previous one. Otherwise, we will. Oh no, sorry. My bad. Go into here and go into this one, which ran yesterday. And here, for instance, we see all the steps are performed and performing the QL, and at the end we will get a location where all the information is stored, and from there we can see, for instance, here we go, advanced security. For that one, as part of the run, those are all the information which are coming from the advanced security, mediums, highs, and lows, for instance. Okay, so this information is injected here, and of course also we have another service which can be used, which is secret security, for instance. Now if you did that one, I did for one already here, and you can see based on this line, for instance, we see some secret here which is in plain text, which should absolutely not be the case. Therefore a password must not be plain text. You see, this one is also detected as part of the vulnerability detection, as part of the security. Okay, secret scanning, which is integrated. Okay. What else? Okay, that's this. Then yes. Okay, so now we will go back to the GitHub offer itself. On GitHub level, we have seen that the security tab, which we have seen, is this one, and a dependent bot. For instance, this when we go to the dependent bot, we will see the details on that one, and you can see for that specific repo, those are all the parts which are already injected here, alerts. Okay, for the code scanning, those are you configure code scanning. You can configure that one on CI/CD pipeline, for instance, and that's what they did based on the pipeline. And the secret scanning, exactly the same, you can do from CI/CD pipeline as well. Now, that way you can consume this service, which is the GitHub Advanced Security, based on the CI/CD pipeline from the repo level with your Azure Cloud Azure Cloud offer or Azure Cloud Defender for Cloud offer. Okay, I hope this makes sense. Yeah, that's basically what I would like to share with you guys in this session. So from there, if I don't know if there are questions in the chat, then I will be happy to answer them.
Hi Hassan, sorry, I'm just wary of time. If there's any questions, hi everyone. If there's any questions, pop them in the chat. I'm wary of time that we're slightly running a bit late. So if you have any questions, very, very briefly, if you want to pop them in the chat, please do now. If not, we'll just start to wrap up. But thank you all so much for joining. Thank you, Hassan, for that session. I know it was we ran late and it was a bit of a round of the order and organization.
Apologize once again for the technical issues, but
yes. So thank you all so much for joining. If you want to find out more about the Reactor, please visit the Reactor page. I'll put the link in the chat shortly. But yeah, and if you want to find out more about Hassan, please find him on LinkedIn also. So thank you all so much for joining.
You can always reach out to me if you have questions or doubts, or you would like to know something about this. Please be kind, reach out, and then I will be more than happy to help. No problem.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Hassan, for the session. It was really, really informative and extremely, extremely useful. I'm just putting the link to the Reactor in the chat. So if you would like to find out more about what we do, what events we have coming up, you can find us there. But thank you all so much for joining. Have a great rest of your days. And thank you again, Hassan, for the session.